I got a new PC. I've been replaying Fallout 3 with the Tale of Two Wastelands mod. Fallout 3's buzzing a bit these days with rumors of a remaster and the TV show just ending, Season 2. I love Fallout 3's DLCs, all of them. And I thought about wanting to take a crack at how we could make them all a little better. My goal here would not be a complete overhaul, but just a light revamp that would enhance what is already offered in the DLC and what is working well. If it's good, we're not going to fix it. We're just going to fix some stuff that is outdated or was silly to begin with. And I want to start with the Pitt DLC. I love the Pitt DLC. I lived in Pittsburgh for 5 years, and so retroactively, after playing it as a kid, I think I've come to love it more just because of the setting. So how would I fix Fallout 3's The Pitt DLC? So for those of you who've never played Fallout 3 or are not familiar, which you don't have to be to watch this video, The Pitt is Fallout 3's second DLC, and it takes place in Pittsburgh. The gist of the expansion, for those who haven't played it, is that you receive a distress signal from a guy named Werner, who is sort of the head of a group of enslaved people, and he's looking for some outside help to revolt against the raiders who now run the pit. He sneaks you in under the guise of being an escaped slave who has returned. You work your way up to becoming one of the raiders, and then are faced with the decision of siding either with the raiders or freeing the slaves, as well as which one of these sides gets their hands on the cure to a disease that's been ravaging people in the pit and turning them into these weird mutant monsters that are called the Trogs. So let's start with what this DLC adds to the base game that made it better, besides just more stuff. First of all, it's the first DLC that gave you a new area to explore that you could return to. There was also this side quest and area within the pit where you have to collect up to 100 steel ingots. Every 10 that you return would give you a new unique item like a piece of armor or a weapon. Easily my favorite part of the DLC. I really like it. I think it does a fantastic job of creating a decent sized area that you're required to absolutely scour if you want to collect every single ingot. And it's one of the only areas it's not afraid to make you really do some serious platforming and really wedge yourself into some crevices and nooks and crannies in order to find every little thing. I think this area is just pretty great level design. I love this. So if you've never played the pit, almost all the footage you're going to see is just of this area. It's great. Almost no notes. I'm going to come back to it. The pit also features a miniature arena section in the story. It's really the only place in Fallout 3 where there is sort of an arena, and it's definitely calling back to their previous game, Oblivion, which had its whole own full arena area, which is still very well loved to this day. And you can play it in the remaster. After completing the story of the DLC, you also get access to an ammo press that allows you to exchange any type of ammunition that you may not use for different kinds of things. So like if you want to change 10mm ammo to 5.56 or 5mm, it's that sort of thing. The ammo press at the time was generally the best part of completing the story and the DLC afterwards. And it was one of the only reasons that I think a player would actually have any incentive to return to the DLC area after completing it. It's sort of a proto version of the ammo creation that New Vegas would introduce with the reloading benches, if you're more familiar with New Vegas. It's good stuff. It works fine enough for the game, and it offers something very useful that the base game didn't have, which was a reliable way to keep playing with small guns or big guns without stressing as much or relying on things like refreshing traders or revisiting locations in order to stay loaded up on gun ammo. Those are the really good things about the Pitt DLC. From here, we're going to start working on the fixing, and I'm going to sort of go in chronological order here to address what should change kind of in the order that the player would experience it or generally interact with it. So one of the first things that happens in the Pitt DLC that's unique to this DLC within Fallout 3 is that upon entering the pit, you are completely relieved of any items and equipment that you've picked up in the game so far. I think that this is great. And if you've played New Vegas's Dead Money DLC, you might love that for the same reasons. Sort of having this refresh to take on a new area by going back to almost nothing and starting over and trying to collect new gear to get to your goal. So my first criticism is that I think the game is it's a bit too anxious to get your items back too quickly. From a meta perspective now, a player playing Fallout 3's Pitt DLC now, they would just know that they're not really going to take away your stuff forever. It's not that kind of game. It's not a hardcore RPG. You know that you're going to get it back. And so my first exchange would be letting the DLC make you sit with your lack of equipment for a little while longer and make you wait longer in order to get it back. And one way I could think of doing that is that right off the bat, I would want to expand the time that you actually stay as this undercover slave. I would give the player fetch quests or errands that kind of humble them and give them opportunities to interact with more characters in the DLC, both the slaves and the raiders. This also kind of solves two things at once. This DLC adds a ton of named unique NPCs with unique dialogue, and it doesn't really give you a lot of time or any with sort of them. It's with hanging out with them and getting to know them. It's really easy to just blow through this DLC and not even know that there's like 15 unique named raiders that all have their own dialogue and bits that you can talk with them about and things that they can offer you. You could not experience any of that by the end of the DLC. You might not even know some of these characters if you've played it a few times. I don't know all of them. I played it a few times since it came out. I played the Pitt DLC right when it came out. I don't know all these characters. It would be cool to marinate with them a little longer, get to know them. Make the player have to do some dirty work for the raiders, and maybe along the way they can be sneaking in some side errands for the slaves so that the player can get to know them a little bit better. There's going to be a point later in the DLC where the slaves pick you as their champion to rise up to the level of raider and take on the arena. Maybe having you do a few of these errands so that either the slaves or the raiders actually get a feel of who you are and that you're pretty resourceful and good at getting tasks done, that it would maybe help you earn that great pick for a nomination. The way the DLC plays it out, it makes you a really random pick to be chosen, a kind of who is this guy situation. And I think it makes it too obvious that you're a plant and part of a bigger scheme and part of this revolt and insurrection. But if you've already proven yourself in other small ways to be ready for the part, maybe the plan becomes a little less obvious. Like I said, it also gives you a chance to see the raiders for who they really are. And maybe when it comes time to choose the raiders over the slaves, it wouldn't feel like such a one-sided decision because maybe you've actually come to like some of these characters, even if it's in a twisted way. If you want to really flesh this out, maybe there's a total of 6 errands that you could do before being asked to go pick up the ingots. Maybe 3 for the raiders and 3 for the slaves, and you need to do 4 in order to move on to the next part of the story. This number would also mean that you would have to interact with both sides of the conflict at least once, and so you would get a better feel of each side's characters and dilemmas and situations, and just a little more time to marinate in the Pitt setting. Again, you can make these errands like 5 to 10 minute tasks, nothing fancy. You don't really want to make it padding. They could even still take advantage of the areas and characters already existing in the game. It wouldn't take much time to implement something like this. As it is now, you can go from slave to raider in like half an hour, which, like I said, means that which means if you're even somewhat familiar with video games or Fallout games specifically, or Bethesda games, you don't really get to feel any time as a slave, and you could even get to the eventual moral dilemma of choosing your side without even really knowing who these people are or caring which side to pick, besides picking the general good guys or bad guys decision. Next, I want to talk about the Steel Ingot Collection. Like I said, I think this is a great part of the DLC. It's a neat collectathon area. It's very condensed. One of the great strengths being that the items you need to collect are contained within this one area. So there's no worry about getting lost or having trouble to find them, or is there some ingot somewhere random in like Uptown or something? Nope, it's just all right in one place. It's neat, tidy, really good idea. This area is also your only opportunity to pick up any equipment and supplies before tackling the later arena, but both the slaves and raider sides kind of mention their lack of resources here in the pit. So I think that a fun addition to this area or part of the game would be the ability to donate your excess gear and supplies to either the slaves or the pit raiders. With the slaves, it could be helping them gear up for the eventual revolt later in the story. And for the raiders, who generally already have more things, it could just be about keeping these resources out of the slaves' hands and continually pushing them down. Maybe if you decide to side with the raiders, anything you don't collect in this area could automatically go to the slaves and make the final fight a bit harder. Another problem, so to speak, is that you can actually pick up every single ingot before moving on to the next part of the story, which lets the player get a little too stocked up before the arena, in my opinion. So another thought is, what if the upper part or side areas of this collection area, like the robot facility, or literally like the upper half of the foundry? I should know what this is called. It's the footage you're watching right now. What if those areas were locked off until later in the DLC, like after the arena? I don't think this is really too hard to implement, and I think it's pretty explainable story-wise. Like, alright slave, you're getting a little too big for your britches, picking up all these ingots and getting all this stuff. That's enough of that. We want to keep you down. After all, the last item you can get for all 100 is a unique power armor set, which is a really cool looking set. Letting a slave walk around with power armor, I think, is a little silly. If you really want to let the player still collect every ingot here, maybe you just hold off on giving them the higher tier rewards until after they've become a raider ourselves. So let's say like around the 50 ingot mark. The arena would still be very doable with this caveat. There's still plenty of stuff to collect, and they even give you a little box of things if you didn't even pick up anything during your scrounging time. Okay, so the next part of the DLC is when you're actually chosen by the slaves as their champion in the arena. If you get through the arena, you get upgraded to raider status. The arena itself is neat enough. They throw these irradiated barrels into the arena as sort of an artificial timer on the fight. It's a good, unique vibe. It works all right. The major problem with the arena is that it's kind of talked up, and then it's like 3 fights that take 2 minutes each. I feel like it was sold as a fat portion of the DLC, and it's over in a flash. It's over so quick. So the first thing I would do is add some more fights in this section to rise up to Raider. You could double the number without blinking. I think 10 would kind of drag on. That would feel like padding, but like around 6 or even 5, I mean, that seems a bit better than 3. I mean, 3 is just too low. There's also a little problem I have with the dialogue in this area is that every person you fight is heralded by the announcer as undefeated. And yeah, duh, they're undefeated. It's a fight to the death. It wouldn't make sense if they were defeated and still alive. So I would just scratch those lines, just get rid of them entirely. There's also a matter of replayability. To give the player something else to do if they want to come back to the pit region, why don't you just let the player go through the arena again after the story is over? On the raider side, they could fight more slaves. On the slave side, you could just add more raiders, let them kill a raider or 2 as punishment. But specifically, you could add more trogs. That's my big idea, trogs. Let the player kill a bunch more trogs. The trogs are a unique enemy only found here in the DLC, and so it'd be fun to give the player an opportunity to fight a few more after the story is over on loop. Side rewards for the arena, you could just give caps, or you could even give a unique item if the player does like 5 or 10 fights outside of the necessary number to progress. I think this is a simple enough addition. The arena is alright enough, just extend it, make it longer, and make it more doable. Lastly, we've got to talk about the ending in the DLC and its attempts at a moral quandary. So you become a raider and get to meet the leader of the pit raiders, Asher. I've got some problems with Asher and his position within the faction. First off, all the raiders, despite their own pride and egos, call him Lord Asher. This is obviously a title that he has imposed on them and not something that he's stumbled into. The meeting you walk in on between Asher and another raider is supposed to give you the impression that Asher is actually totally this benevolent guy who insists that the slaves are called workers so that their morale is boosted and that they feel more like humans. Here's the thing, none of the raiders do that. All the raiders treat the slaves like hot garbage. They beat them up and kill them for sport. So they call Asher their lord, and they appeal to him constantly, but they don't listen to him as to how to deal with and interact with the slaves. Okay, think about if you've played it, Fallout 4's Nuka World DLC really quick. Your character, who is probably even a good guy, sort of accidentally fumbles their way into the position of ruler of the raider factions in that area. That's sort of the explanation for how a good character would want to even become a raider leader in the first place. And I feel like here, this is what the writers wanted you to think had happened to Asher. That he's actually totally this upright guy, educated and ethical, with a Brotherhood of Steel background. And he just ended up in this role as Pitt Raider leader and is trying to make the best of it and help anyone he can. This is clearly not the case. If he was so good, why is there slavery, man? What's with the inhumane treatment of the workers? Why is there not a more collectivist, alright guys, we've got some hard work to do, it's not going to be fun, but if we all do it together, we could change things around here for the better. No, instead, there's this clear class hierarchy where an entire group of people has been left to do the hard work and are subjected to what would be now called crimes against humanity. And we know this is doable because after the DLC, if you go with the slaves, when Werner essentially does what you think Asher would have done if he was actually a good guy. Werner essentially says this to the slaves, the freed slaves. Hey guys, we beat the raiders, but we're all gonna have to pitch in and do this hard and crappy work in order to change things for the better. That's how Asher could have been doing things from the jump when he took over. So Asher already sucks. But I will say that I enjoy his backstory enough, and it's interesting to, I guess, have an intellectual who waxes poetic when he's running this group of big, beefy, evil jocks. Asher also smells you out right away as a plant, which actually makes a lot of sense with how everything up to this point has gone. And he offers you a choice to join them instead, for real, and take down the insurrection. You also find out here what the cure for this Trog disease is that they're working on, and it's Asher's newborn baby, which has an immunity to the disease. Asher's wife is a doctor and has been working steadily and carefully to somehow extract a cure from their baby. And herein lies the big twist moral dilemma about the Pit. Would you end slavery if it meant stealing one baby? Now, before I really make fun of that, I'll step back and acknowledge that the moral decisions in the base game of Fallout 3 are extremely black and white. You either have to fix a giant bomb in the center of town or blow it up and kill everyone. You either give everyone free, fresh, and clean water or poison it and genocide anyone with the radiation and mutation. If you ask about doing any side quest for money anywhere, you get called a cold, hard, careless mercenary for not constantly risking your life for absolutely nothing in return. Fallout 3 was a major victim and catalyst of the 2000s zeitgeist of RPGs with moral decisions that are absolutely not hard at all to make if you just want to be good or evil. So, comparatively to the rest of Fallout 3, this decision is mildly interesting for about 2 seconds. In the greater scheme of moral decisions in RPGs, it's still dumb. Asher and his gang are treating countless people inhumanely and reveling in it. They beat and kill slaves for sport. They think of them as lesser than themselves. Getting rid of them to emancipate an entire group of people is not a hard decision to make, even with stealing a baby. A baby that is still going to be treated completely fine and lovingly by a female caretaker on the slave side. Werner sort of tries to make you think the baby might be mistreated in order to extract the cure, but after the resolution of the story, immediately makes it clear that the baby is going to be totally fine. So, to start, if you really want to change the Pitt's story here and salvage this moral dilemma into something at least a little bit tricky, but only want to give me one move to do it, my move would be to make it abundantly clear that the slaves would have absolutely no shot at curing the disease if the baby gets in their hands. Give Asher a small team of doctors, and give Werner and the slaves some extra lines of dialogue that make it obvious that they would either have no idea what they're doing or actually have no real plans of curing anything and just don't want to kill a baby. Maybe the medical research and equipment all gets destroyed in the insurrection, and it's clear with more time, less than a year, that the Raiders would actually be coming up with a cure. So now your moral decision would be this. Would you rather let the Raiders stay in power, but eventually cure the disease in Pitt with the hope that they would maybe change their ways soon after, or end the slavery now with the knowledge that there would never be any hope of a cure for the Trog disease? To me, this decision would add at least a bit of a bad taste in the mouth of choosing either side, though obviously I still think it lies in favor of the slaves. And there's still a clear good and bad moral decision here that plays in the Fallout 3's morality system, while giving you something to chew on after. Here's what else I would change. I think the player should end up as the clear faction leader of whatever side you pick. With the Raiders, either have Asher die or let him step down to a bit of an advisory role in taking over when you're not there, so he can spend more time with his wife and the baby and the research team with working on a cure. Give the players some form of light choice to influence how the slaves will be tended to or not after the insurrection. Are they punished heavily for trying to fight back? Is the work actually lightened up? For the slaves, I've also got another idea. A part of the plan in taking out the Raiders is releasing Trogs into Uptown to make up for their lack of firepower. A nice consequence of this, if you still want it to play out that way, is that there could be some uncertainty to having caught all of the Trogs after the smoke is cleared. Maybe every now and then the free slaves still find a Trog in an Uptown apartment, or maybe sections of Uptown have to be quarantined off completely because the Trogs have overrun them. That's just a side idea. Mainly, I think that you should have to take out Werner. Werner is already written as a bit of a sleazy type who's willing to do something dirty in order to help out, so pushing him a bit further in that direction I don't think is that hard of a call. Maybe in your confrontation with Asher, it becomes clear with evidence, like an audio log, that Werner actually plans on killing the baby, or still keeping slaves and just taking over as a more benevolent Pit Raider leader and is using you as a means to get there. So with Werner gone, Medea or another slave would become your number two and lead things while you're not around, kind of like the Asher version if you pick the slaves. And I feel like this makes enough sense. After all, you're the champion the slaves chose for the arena already, and you killed Asher and then Werner. It makes sense that they would want you to be their official leader into this new age of freedom instead of just this exterior asset. This would also have worked as an exceptional selling point for the DLC in retrospect. Something like, travel to the pit and become leader of whatever faction survives. Maybe you come back from time to time and can receive cuts of resources and supplies your faction has scrounged up while salvaging or raiding. Again, I don't think these are really drastic changes to what the pit already has going on. It would just make the landing stick better and give a more clear resolution to the disputes and a more obvious epilogue or path forward for the people there. Some extra things that I would add to give the DLC some more pizzazz. This DLC takes place in Pittsburgh, and it's really not that Pittsburgh at all. The actual world map on the Pip-Boy looks like Pittsburgh and the Three Rivers region. And the skyline from the bridge going into the city when you first enter definitely looks like the Pittsburgh skyline. And that's about it. Now, to be fair to the developers, this DLC came out only 5 months after Fallout 3 was originally released. So I don't think it's their fault. Even if they had this idea before Fallout 3 wrapped, it's not really a lot of time to study up on Pittsburgh sites or places or culture. Since I've lived in Pittsburgh for a few years, I hope I have some ideas of how to make it more interesting. For one, I think some of the characters, raiders, and slaves should speak a little bit of Pittsburghese. Pittsburgh sort of has this interesting dialogue and slang to it, and I think it'd be fun to have it in the game, you know? Hey, Scab, go to downtown and pick up some things for me. Yins better get back to work. Cheat shit? Grab some trog slop, raider. It's definitely silly, which works. I mean, Fallout is not a completely serious franchise. I also think some generic black and gold sports hats or jerseys would have been a great idea, or even like banners or barriers that you could find. If you don't know, Pittsburgh is the only American city where all the major sports teams have the same colors, black and gold, and I feel like they could have leaned into that a bit pretty easily. If you had the room to add one more area to the west, but still well within the Pittsburgh area, I think Point Park would have been a good destination. It's right next to downtown, which is where majority of the DLC takes place. And it's iconic enough that it's a bit more iconic, at least, than the almost no distinctive points of interest that the DLC offers. That's it. That's all I got. Those are all my thoughts. Is this good? Is it bad? You want me to do the other ones? I'll probably do the other ones anyway, even if no one wants me to. Also, what you've been watching is specifically, it's the Tale of Two Wastelands mod, which lets you play Fallout 3, the entirety of it, in New Vegas, as well as play New Vegas later if you want. But it's specifically the Begin Again mod list on Wabbajack. And personally, I think it's amazing. I love it, and it's a really good vanilla plus way to play both games today. It looks great, plays great, a lot of really good additions and tweaks and quality of life stuff. So if you have the PC capabilities, maybe check it out. I like it a lot. All right, that's it. I'm gonna go now. I gotta get a cough drop. Bye.